White House ballroom going to be big enough? That burning question apparently has President Trump and his handpicked architect at odds. That's according to a new report in the Washington Post. The president thinks the vision that the architect has is too small. The architect disagrees and believes that a bigger ballroom would in fact dwarf the rest of the White House. Michelle Obama was asked about the renovations and she questioned why they were necessary.
It's not about me. It's about us and our traditions and what they stand for. I think in my body I felt confusion because I'm like, well, who are we? What do we value? And who decides that? That's the part of it that hurts. It's not the house. I think I felt a loss for us as a nation. But personally, that's not our house. That's the people's house.
Not our house, it's the people's house. I'm fascinated by the ballroom idea in and of itself because I really want to know who is going to rent out the ballroom post-Trump administration.
No one will be renting it. We'll be paying for the maintenance.
But the White House is led by the leader of the free world. I'm sure that they'll be able to figure out what kind of event to put in this new ballroom. I mean, you'd think he's trying to add on a golf course. And of course, the president has gone about this in his usual abrasive manner. But having a ballroom to host functions for dignitaries, world leaders, seems like a perfectly normal thing to do.
Well, considering the Elysee Palace has a ballroom, it's called the Salon de Fête. I just Googled it during the break. The Polish presidential palace has a ballroom. Buckingham Palace has a ballroom. In fact, most presidential executive mansions around the world actually have some facility where they entertain guests. So this is not a crazy thing, right? Maybe we could joke about Trump wanting it bigger because that's Trump's style, that's Trump's personality, right? Those are things I think fairly SNL could kind of poke at. But the idea of having a ballroom in the White House when guests are entertained in tents right now, I think it's a little shabby for America.
There's a right and wrong way to pitch that idea, of course.
What is the right or wrong way?
I'll tell you the wrong way is when you lie and tell people that you won't touch the structure. That's the wrong way. When you lie to people and do it unilaterally to build your ballroom of the damned. And this ballroom's a lot like Donald Trump. It's going to be gaudy and tacky and oversized and, like Trump, it's going to be financed by rich guys who are expecting some favors in return for what they do. This thing stinks like Chris Christie's hamper. And again, I don't care too much about the ballroom of the damned. It's not that big a deal. There's people dying from USAID cuts. But the amount of dishonesty that was levied in the construction of it, I don't get sentimental about a building. There's real people really suffering. 20 million folks could be kicked off of Medicaid from this bill. But this is just another example of the tackiness. And I think it's great. He wants something that can be seen from outer space. But again, it will dwarf the original structure. It's going to be gold. It's going to be tacky. It's going to be one guy's aesthetic. And you can build a ballroom and allow the American people to have a say in it. They could have made it a process. He didn't have to be like the rich kid who wants a toy, but he can't stop.
But I've been in the East Room. It was perfectly fine. I don't know. I know he wants to have a bigger crowd there, but
and I'm with you on the tents outside. I'm with you.
But to me, the story is not that he's building a ballroom, and I actually don't think it's anything to joke about. I think that's part of the problem, that we treat this like it's fodder and like ha ha ha. It's actually a travesty, and it's strange that this ballroom is going to be funded by Amazon, Google, Microsoft. These are very weird things, and that's not something that we should start to normalize in our democracy, that it's funded by the private sector, and his dishonesty about it. I mean, this is a $300 million project, and it's like we have completely abandoned our social norms and mores. I completely understand First Lady Michelle Obama's perspective when she asks, who are we? What are our values? And when we sit around and talk about this, we can joke about the ballroom, and he and his architect are fighting. No. This sounds to me like someone is building a structure that he does not plan on leaving. And that's something that we need to start taking very seriously.
There's also this separate question of the optics, right? And it is important to point out this is being privately financed, right? So it's not technically taxpayer dollars.
We'll pay to maintain
in the moment where there are people dealing with real issues when it comes to affordability, when it comes to struggling and wondering, are they going to change their Thanksgiving menu tomorrow based on the high prices at the grocery store, which can't be ignored. There are concerns about the housing market. There is a question about the optics. Should that come into play?
I think every president has made renovations at the White House, and look,
not like that.
Not like this.
But again,
should it come into play in this moment?
You were just criticizing the president for not using taxpayer money. At the same time, you're saying that this money, this resource, this whatever should have gone to something else. So I don't think you can compare the two. Right?
I wasn't criticizing anything. What I was saying was laying out the facts that people will point to this and say, well, the optics, this is terrible. And then rightfully so, the president will say, look, I'm not taking away any money, right? I'm just putting that out there, right? They're not taking away any money. Absolutely. But all I'm saying is in the moment, does it make sense as a president to consider the optics and the message that that sends when there are so many Americans who are struggling? Would you have advised that?
Part of me thinks that pretty much, I mean, this is a great test case for just about, and I think this is Bill Maher's point, everything that President Trump ever does is automatically treated as a disaster and a travesty, and it's a ballroom, but he's not going to leave the White House somehow, right?
Democrats will use it.
Right, every single thing
but
is
you're
treated like that.
intellectually dishonest. You are incapable of acknowledging a simple truth about anything. Like you use
what am I lying about?
Because you use this.
You just said that he's not going to
this
leave the ballroom.
platform- You
He's
use
building
this
a ballroom, so he's
platform
going to
lie
stay
and
there.
defend this president no matter what. You
What did I
lie
lie
in the
about?
face.
You're the one who said he's building a ballroom not to leave the White House. You just said that. You said he's building a ballroom to not leave the White House. That makes no sense.
I
think that is a question that we have to examine.
So you think he's building the ballroom to stay in the White House? That's his plan. That's his plan.
Where would I get that from? Him lying about the 2020 election? Him leading a mob to attack Capitol Hill? Yes, that's a very serious thing. And the fact that you are intellectually dishonest about it. Listen, when authoritarianism came for America and history asked, what did you do and what did you say? I hope they play back every single time you're on this show and regurgitate a bunch of nonsense.
I think you are the ultimate example of the Trump derangement syndrome in the flesh.
Can I just say,
I think you lied to the American people.
I don't
I don't know if you're trying to get a
You're
cabinet
in
position, but
the mental war.
I want to sort of say how much I love that he's ignoring his architect. You go, Mr. Trump. You reject all the advice of every expert who tries to bring their woke expertise on you. In fact, when you need surgery, Mr. Trump, I hope you ask RFK Jr. to do it for you. You don't need those woke experts performing surgery, sir. He's literally ignoring his architect.
That's the thing about this Washington Post story today. It shows how obsessed the president is with this project.
Yeah.
That's where he might be vulnerable. That's what Democrats can use against him. This idea that he is obsessed and fixated on building this ballroom. And of course, as always, with the president, it's who's going to stop me?
And
right?
it's not going to be
Photographers now go to the
true at
top of the
once.
Washington Monument just to see what he's working on. That's how the news media is covering this, by going to the top of the monument to look down to see what they're building.
Yeah.
And the most interesting detail today, there's no word yet on how high the ballroom is going to be.
Exactly.
So we actually don't know exactly
wall got
what
it
he's
can
doing.
dwarf that.
Two things can be true at once. He should have been more forthright about the plans. He shouldn't have said that this wasn't going to alter the East Wing. He can be a little less abrasive about his approach. But adding a ballroom to the White House, it's not like we're talking about a Ferris wheel here or a mini golf course. We're talking about something that, honestly, I can't wait to see the first Democratic president use this ballroom. Because they will.
I will say to everybody, it's not necessarily the fact that it's a ballroom, right? That the people who are outraged about it are upset about. It's the way that it was that he went about it, right? Perhaps the size, for some people it is the size too. But sure, like a ballroom, a salon de fête, whatever you want to have.
We're all okay that Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, we're treating like no big deal. It's just a ballroom. Amazon, Microsoft, they're throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at the White House.
I'm talking about the space.
No big.
People saying there could be a space.
I don't want to pay for it.
Here's the other thing we're going to do. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. No more of this discussion because there's still more. We do want to, on a very serious note, continue our coverage of the breaking news. 2 National Guardsmen, of course, shot today in Washington, D.C. They are in critical condition at this hour. We are live on the scene. We're going to bring you that update just ahead.